Everybody, something strange is about to grip this country. And when I say strange, I'm not being dramatic. I'm using the exact word that atmospheric scientists are using when they try to describe what the models are now showing for the rest of August and into fall. Because what is setting up across the United States right now is not a heat dome. It is not a cold outbreak. It is not a storm pattern or a drought or a flood. It is all of those things simultaneously happening in different parts of the country at exactly the same time. And the mechanism driving all of it is something that meteorologists say has no clean historical precedent. A super El Nino so strong that the models are projecting it to exceed plus 3 degrees Celsius above the equatorial Pacific baseline, a level not reached since modern instrumental records began, is now actively locking a wave-like pattern into the atmosphere over North America. A pattern that is splitting this country into sharply different weather zones, creating bizarre temperature contrasts between neighboring states, generating a cold ocean anomaly in the North Atlantic that is reshaping where storm tracks go this winter, and driving an August forecast that no way just substantially changed on August 1st, 2026, today. Something strange is about to grip this country. And here's everything you need to know about what it is and how it affects you. Happy Saturday, everybody. Mark here. No hype, no drama, just what you need to know. Subscribe and follow along because this is the most significant atmospheric pattern update of the entire summer. Let's get right into it. NOAA's Climate Prediction Center just issued their updated monthly outlook for August. And the main finding is this. Above normal temperatures are now favored for the western and southern two-thirds of the continental United States. The confidence is high, greater than 50% chance, for above normal temperatures across much of the southern plains, where El Nino composites, trend, and dynamical model. Guidance all agree. Confidence is also high, again greater than 50%, for above normal temperatures across coastal California due to predicted mid-level ridging combined with above normal sea surface temperatures in the nearshore Pacific waters. And then there is the northern tier. And this is where the strangeness begins, everybody. NOAA's own updated discussion flagged low. Confidence across the northern plains and Great Lakes, where El Nino composites are generally less supportive of anomalous temperatures in either direction. And the broader seasonal outlook for August through October shows below normal temperatures, specifically favored from eastern Montana to western Minnesota, supported by a strong cool signal in ENSO analogs. So here's what this updated forecast is telling us. High confidence above normal heat in the southern plains and coastal California. Simultaneously, a below normal temperature signal in Montana through Minnesota that the models are less certain about, but the El Nino historical analogs are pointing toward clearly. Warm in the south and west, cooler interruptions in the north-central interior, and a wave-like pattern connecting all of it. That is not a typical August weather pattern. That is something unusual, something the models are calling out as a consequence of the unprecedented atmospheric grip of a super El Nino that is still building. The most likely outcome for August is not one uninterrupted continental heat dome. American and Canadian models instead point to a wave-like pattern. Heat building over the west, south, and east, cooler interruptions reaching the north-central interior, monsoon moisture surging into the southwest, and wildfire smoke repeatedly crossing the U.S. Canada border. August may divide North America into several sharply different weather zones simultaneously. Wave-like, sharply different zones simultaneously. This is the unusual configuration that distinguishes this August from any recent comparable month. Most summer weather patterns are relatively continuous. A heat dome builds, covers a large area, maybe shifts east or west, and then collapses. What the models are now showing for August is fundamentally different. Instead of one dominant feature, you have multiple competing features locked in place by the atmospheric circulation structure that the super El Nino has established. And those features are not moving through and giving way to the next one. They are sitting, persisting, maintaining their character for days and weeks at a time because the jet stream itself is being held in an unusual wave-like configuration by the planetary scale forcing from the tropical Pacific. And here is the specific atmospheric mechanism responsible, according to Severe Weather Europe's July 30th analysis. A strong or extreme El Nino causes a pressure drop in the central and eastern tropical Pacific and a high pressure zone over the western Pacific. This creates major changes in global pressure and wind patterns through something called the Walker cell, the large-scale atmospheric circulation loop that drives rising air over the warm Pacific waters and sinking air elsewhere. And when the Walker cell is supercharged by a plus 3 degree super El Nino, it launches what meteorologists call Rossby waves into the mid-latitudes. Think of Rossby waves as ripples on the jet stream, large-scale undulations that propagate northward and eastward from the tropics into the temperate zones. And those ripples are what create the wave-like, sharply zonal pattern that August is showing. The warm ridges, the cool troughs, the simultaneous heat in the south and cold interruptions in the north. All of it driven by Rossby waves launched from a Pacific Ocean that is running at levels meteorologists describe as record strong if verified. For the southeast, Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Louisiana, August is going to be hot. Above normal temperatures are the strongest signal in the entire updated NOAA outlook for this region. And the compounding factor that makes this region's August unusual is the drought that has been developing and deepening through July. Dry soil heats up faster. Dry soil holds less moisture to buffer against extreme temperatures. Dry soil provides less evaporative cooling. The NOAA August through October outlook specifically calls out below normal precipitation, favored in parts of the southeast, meaning the drought that built through July is going to deepen through August. The heat arrives on top of drought. The drought makes the heat worse. The heat deepens the drought. That is the strange feedback loop gripping the southeast this August. For the southern plains, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, high confidence above normal temperatures, greater than 50% chance of a hotter than normal August. And the precipitation outlook for this region carries the most complexity of anywhere on the map. The southern plains sits right along the southern edge of the wave-like pattern, sometimes under the influence of the monsoon moisture pumping northward from the Gulf of Mexico and Mexico, and sometimes under the influence of the dry, hot ridge. That means the southern plains could see both drought and flash flooding events in the same month. An inch of rain in one county while the county next door gets nothing. That is the strange grip of the wave-like pattern for the southern plains. For the northern plains, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the below normal temperature signal stands in stark and almost surreal contrast to what those same states just lived through in July. Remember, Billings, Montana, broke its all-time temperature record with 111 degrees on July 13th. The Dakotas experienced 20 to 30 degrees above normal heat during the peak of the second heat dome. And now NOAA's August through October outlook shows below normal temperatures favored from eastern Montana to western Minnesota. The same states, 3 to 4 weeks later, from all-time record heat to below normal. That is the wave-like pattern making its presence known in the most dramatic possible regional contrast. And for coastal California, a high confidence above normal temperature signal tied to mid-level ridging and above normal Pacific sea surface temperatures. This is not a heat dome over the interior desert. This is the coastal regions, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, and the Bay Area, experiencing above normal warmth tied to ocean conditions that are running warmer than normal along the nearshore. And it creates something that Southern California residents know well, but that is intensifying this August. Elevated marine layer temperatures that raise overnight lows prevent the coastal cooling that normally gives Southern California its temperate summer character, and create conditions where even the coast feels uncomfortably warm rather than refreshingly cool. In the North Atlantic Ocean, far to the northeast of the United States, in the waters between Greenland and the British Isles, a cold ocean anomaly is returning. An area of sea surface temperatures significantly below normal has been reappearing and expanding in the same location where similar cold anomalies have occurred before during major climate pattern transitions. Severe Weather Europe confirmed it on July 30th. A cold North Atlantic anomaly is returning as Super El Niño strengthens, together shaping early predictions for winter 2026 to 2027 across the United States and Canada. Now, why does a cold patch of ocean in the far North Atlantic matter for what grips the United States right now? This is the piece that connects the strange August pattern to the even stranger pattern coming in fall and winter. The North Atlantic is not isolated from the atmosphere. Cold anomalies in this region often precede or indicate larger pressure and jet stream changes. Specifically, a cold North Atlantic anomaly in this location tends to strengthen and shift the position of the high-pressure system over Greenland, known as the Greenland Block. And when the Greenland Block strengthens, it changes how the jet stream flows over the entire North Atlantic and into Europe. It can amplify the wave-like pattern that is already being established by the Super El Niño over North America. And it can extend the influence of that wave-like pattern from the summer pattern that is gripping the country right now into the fall and winter pattern that is beginning to take shape on the other side of the season. Severe weather. Europe's analysis put it directly. Cold anomalies in this region often precede larger pressure and jet stream changes, and past events have been associated with pattern changes that shifted the atmospheric circulation over the United States in significant ways, sometimes delivering colder winters to portions of the eastern United States that the El Niño signal alone would have kept mild. That is the additional wrinkle. That is the strange convergence. A super El Niño driving the wave-like pattern from the south, a cold North Atlantic blob potentially amplifying that pattern from the north, both of them tightening their grip on the North American atmosphere simultaneously. The August forecast for the Pacific Northwest and Northern Great Basin shows an elevated to significant wildfire risk, and the wave-like pattern is directly responsible. The upper branch of the August split flow brings offshore winds to the Pacific Northwest. Dry continental air pushing toward the coast instead of marine moisture coming inland. Low humidity, gusty northeast winds. Extreme fire behavior potential in fuel-limited terrain that has been drying out all summer under persistent drought. And Canada is on fire, everybody. Not in the metaphorical sense, literally. Canadian wildfires have been burning across British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario through July, and their smoke has been crossing the US-Canada border repeatedly, producing hazardous air quality as far south as the northern plains, the upper Midwest, and on the most intense days, reaching the Ohio Valley. The August wave-like pattern is expected to continue this cross-border smoke transport. When the cooler northern interruptions bring surface troughs and northwesterly flow behind them, they sweep Canadian wildfire smoke southward across the border in concentrated plumes. And when the ridge rebuilds over the northern tier between those interruptions, the lighter winds trap smoke closer to the surface, creating the inversions that concentrate particulate matter at breathing level for hours and days at a time. For communities from Fargo to Minneapolis to Chicago to Milwaukee, watch your Air Now Air Quality Index every morning before you go outside in August. On days when Canadian wildfire smoke is streaming southward under northwesterly flow behind a surface trough, the air quality can deteriorate from good to very unhealthy within a few hours. People with asthma, COPD, heart conditions, and the elderly are most vulnerable. But on the worst smoke days, even healthy adults doing extended outdoor exercise are at risk of respiratory effects. The MJO is the Madden-Julian Oscillation, a pulse of enhanced tropical rainfall and convection that circles the globe roughly every 30 to 60 days. It originates in the Indian Ocean, crosses the maritime continent, enters the Pacific, and then moves into the Western Hemisphere before completing its circuit. And when the MJO is in certain phases, when the enhanced convection is positioned over specific parts of the tropics, it can temporarily override or amplify the background atmospheric signals from El Niño and produce short-duration pattern changes that surprise forecasters. NOAA's updated August 1st outlook specifically listed the MJO as one of the main contributors to their updated monthly guidance. And the reason for that mention is significant. In August, the MJO is expected to be active. Its influence on tropical convection over the Pacific and Indian Ocean can temporarily strengthen or weaken the Rossby wave activity that the Super El Niño is driving into the mid-latitudes. During phases when the MJO enhances convection in the eastern Indian Ocean and maritime continent, phases 4, 5, and 6, the effect tends to reinforce the ridge over the Pacific and amplify the warm signal over the United States. During phases 8, 1, and 2, when the MJO is in the Western Hemisphere, the effect can temporarily disrupt the ridge and produce brief, cooler interruptions, even in areas that are generally expected to be hot. What that means, practically for August, is this. The strange, wave-like grip that I have been describing is not completely static. It will have variations week to week as the MJO cycles through its phases. Some weeks will be hotter. Some weeks will feature the cooler northern interruptions more prominently. The Texas flooding risk from Gulf moisture will pulse with MJO timing. The monsoon's intensity over Arizona and New Mexico will rise and fall with MJO phases. And the exact timing of when the cooler trough dips southward into the northern plains will be influenced by where in its cycle the MJO sits during each week of August. This is the atmospheric complexity of a Super El Niño summer, everybody. Multiple large-scale drivers all operating simultaneously. The El Niño, the QBO stratospheric wind shift, the cold North Atlantic blob, the MJO pulses, all of them interacting in an atmospheric environment that has no clean historical precedent, because no Super El Niño of this potential strength has ever occurred on top of a global ocean baseline this warm. The wave-like pattern, this is the defining feature of the August through early fall atmospheric setup. Not a single continental heat dome, not a simple heat versus cool divide. A multi-zone wave-like pattern with heat in the south, southwest, and east coast, cooler interruptions in the north-central interior, monsoon moisture surging into the southwest, wildfire and smoke dominating the Pacific Northwest and northern Great Basin, and Canadian wildfire smoke repeatedly crossing the border into the northern plains and upper Midwest. The temperature contrasts. High confidence above normal heat in the southern plains and coastal California. The southeast baking under above normal temperatures on top of developing drought. The northern plains carrying a below normal signal from eastern Montana to western Minnesota. A bizarre contrast to the all-time record heat those same states experienced in July. Low confidence in the Great Lakes region, where the competing signals leave the outcome genuinely uncertain. The drought and flooding paradox, the southeast trending drier and hotter simultaneously. The southwest trending wetter from enhanced monsoon activity, but with flash flooding and debris flow risk on fire-scarred terrain. The southern plains, sitting in the zone of highest week-to-week variability, capable of both flash flooding from Gulf moisture pulses and drought conditions between them. The cold North Atlantic blob, returning and expanding in the same location where past large-scale pattern changes have originated. Its interaction with the super El Niños. Atmospheric bridge is a key signal now being tracked for how the fall and winter pattern evolves. A potential amplifier of the wave-like configuration into the colder months. The MJO wildcard, active in August, and capable of producing week-to-week variations within the broader strange grip. Its phasing will determine the week-by-week intensity of the heat, the monsoon pulses, and the cooler northern interruptions. Watch the MJO forecast updates through the month. The big picture, a super El Nino that NOAA gives 81% probability of reaching very strong status during October through December, that all 30 GFDL model runs project to be competitive with the strongest events in the historical record, and that severe weather Europe confirms is on an even stronger trajectory than past super El Nino events, is now actively locking the atmosphere of North America into a configuration that has no clean historical comparison. Something strange is gripping this country. And it is going to tighten its grip further through fall and into the winter season that this super El Nino is still building toward. I will be tracking every update to this pattern every single day. Every new NOAA guidance, every new severe weather Europe analysis, every MJO forecast shift, every new model run that changes the picture. That is my commitment to you. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for your incredible support. It means everything. And before I go, a quick word from our Father. Job 37:12 through 13. His lightning bolts go in all directions, and he steers them to do whatever he commands throughout the earth. He makes these things happen either to punish people or to show his unfailing love. Everybody, he steers the lightning. He commands the wave-like pattern. He sets the Rossby waves in motion from the tropical Pacific, and he watches them ripple into the mid-latitudes of North America. The strange grip that is about to tighten on this country. He authored it. He's working through it, and whether it is the heat or the cooler interruption, the drought or the flooding rain, the wildfire smoke or the monsoon downpour, he is in every piece of it. All glory always goes to God, our Father in heaven, Yahweh. I pray he keeps every single one of you safe through everything this strange and unprecedented atmospheric pattern delivers. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Stay safe, everybody, informed, and I will see you in the next update.